Hi, I'm Captain Everyman, and I want to talk to you about Black Panther and the character Eric Killmonger. And what was interesting to me, and what has me kind of salty and upset, and this is sort of like the golden age of Captain Everyman I'm entering into in 2018. I'm going to speak my mind without a filter and without a censor in this video. Who was he literally? And why I am kind of upset about it is I've read so much on social media from people who are actually trying to make it seem like T'Challa, the Black Panther, is this weak leader, how he's a representative of puppet governments in Africa, how he showed he had no spine, and how he let the outside world manipulate him, and how even some people are even saying he's a CIA agent. And what's interesting about art is how two people can look at the same kind of art, which this movie is, and what we get out of it from their responses is who they really are, because the art becomes something that exposes their thinking more so than it does become an objective kind of commentary on the actual art. And who was Eric Killmonger literally? He was a Black Ops agent who had spent his entire career working for Western governments, murdering, killing people, destabilizing governments, and doing their bidding to control the world. So why people don't get this out of the movie, I don't know, because he says it himself just before he gets in the battle with T'Challa, the ritualistic battle for the throne. He speaks about all this, how he's murdered people all over the world. And when Agent Ross talks about him, he says he's just doing what he's trained to do. You think about that. This man is doing what he's been trained to do. He's coming into what's literally an Afrocentric paradise there, and he's destabilizing it. He's causing the people there, after all these centuries of mostly cooperation and getting along, suddenly they're spilling each other's blood there because of him. And it's not a mistake. It's as if he's been sent in there to do that. Who is he? He's a murderer. He's murdered people. He slaughters people. He killed his own girlfriend when it became expedient for him. He kills everybody who's working with him, doesn't think anything of it. And this is not somebody who can be a king in a country. A king of a country who's really going to be a leader is going to be somebody who can bring the people together, not separate them and have them killing each other. You know, people are trying to make this guy a hero somehow. Anybody who wants to impose like racism on other people, as long as they're on your side, they're good. Just like the Nazis saw Adolf Hitler as good. You know, he declared the Germans to be the master race, so he was a good guy to them. He'd go out and kill everybody. He could use his superior technological advantage, which the Germans had at the beginning of the war, and all of a sudden he's a hero just because he's murdering people and you're on his side. But that's not the way ethics really work. And what's sad is I hear people expressing that on the internet a lot. And who was Eric Killmonger? He was a sociopath. He seemed to have no feeling at all about killing somebody. This was like sport to him. It seemed like he was just having fun. He's a megalomaniac. He really believes he can carry off something that all these men throughout history haven't been able to do, but suddenly he's going to be able to be the one that does it. He's going to bring an empire together that's that large, covering the whole world, and he's going to lead this tiny little nation that has a very small army, and somehow just because they have a take advantage, they're going to be able to hold on to this. Now, I don't know how he thinks these IB's intercontinental ballistic missiles is going to come raining down on Wakanda. You know, as soon as they figure out this is the source of these weapons, everybody's going to come slamming at them. And a weapon that can take out a tank, a sonic cannon, is not going to stop a missile coming out from space and all these nuclear warheads from all the countries he's trying to take over. But does he care? No. Because he's a sociopath and he's a megalomaniac. And literally, that's who the man is. Yet people are seeing him as a hero. But I want to shift gears now and talk about who Eric Killmonger is, figuratively speaking. And it's really obvious to me, and you know, I say that I have these superpowers: clarity, insight, and perspective. I'm going to use all three of them here. And I'm going to talk about Eric Killmonger and who he is figuratively. And who he is, he's an embodiment of dysfunctional African American culture. Now you look at T'Challa and Wakanda. Here's a civilization that was built up and carefully planned over generations. And this man's going to come in here and tear this down and tear it up. You know, he can't build up anything himself. He hasn't been able to do that. All he's done, he's destroying throughout his entire life. And this is literally what has happened in the black community very often. There are individuals in the community who, like the old crabs in a barrel thing, who literally tear it apart with their criminality, with their dysfunctional behavior. They destroy the economics in the black community. People are afraid to come in there. People are afraid to come in there and to spend their money, which is a horrible thing when you think about economically. But yet people are making this guy in the movie seem to be a hero, and there's no good reason for it whatsoever. He represents that culture in the black community that's dysfunctional, that can't build, that can't have any unity, that can't make a plan and stick to it, that's always out for itself. You see so many organizations where they raise money and the founders and leaders just steal the money and go live the high life with it. It's just sickening to me. And he represents that kind of thinking. He's going to come in and destroy and take over something that's been built up, but he could never build anything like this himself. He has not the capacity or the ability to. And that happens a lot in the black community, believe me. People who are in the black community are just like Killmonger. They come in there, they tear things down, they literally murder and kill people, and somehow they're seen as heroic, just like this is now. And what else does he represent? He represents something which I call the toxic fruit of fatherlessness, because his father wasn't there for him. He became something monstrous. And if you think that's not happening right now, you're wrong. And I don't know if this was intentional from the writers of the movie, but they hit it spot on. That we see T'Challa, whose father mentored him and raised him and led him and gave him an example to follow. He's a strong man, a strong leader. You look at Killmonger, whose father died young, was not there for him. He became this bitter, dysfunctional, psychopathic guy, and this is happening all around us all the time. And the last thing I want to say about who figuratively Killmonger is, he's a mirror to the warped psyche of African Americans, who some of them, not saying everybody, but the fact that they're seeing him as a hero and they're seeing T'Challa as something, as like a villain or something weak, is because they've actually had their minds warped. And like that line in the movie, he's doing what he's been trained to do. This is how their minds have been trained. They look at somebody who's educated, who's progressive, who's thoughtful, who has a kind of spiritual wisdom. They see these people as weak, but they see these people who are prone to violence and trying to use force to get what they want. Although, what does that get you other than shot between the eyes and put in jail? Not much else. But they see these people as heroes, and this is who Eric Killmonger is. He's this person who's reflects all these kind of toxic, stupid ideas that we can somehow just use force to get what we want. It's not going to take long-range planning. All we got to do is jump up with a gun, and all of a sudden things are going to fall on our lap, everything's going to come into place. That we're going to use the tools of our oppressors to liberate ourselves, when obviously that isn't true. And obviously some of these things have to be done over time. Nothing happens instantly. Things take planning. You have to build a foundation, and then you have to build on top of it. You just can't wave a magic wand and make things be what they should be. You got to start pushing back and keep pushing back, and eventually you get to where you want to be. But it's a sad commentary that many of the things that are being said about this movie, that we're missing some of the subliminal and, or I should say, subtext of the movie, which is that it's possible to build a great civilization if you have organization, time, and unity. But people are like going under the banner of Killmonger, exactly the opposite of what we really need to progress and make things the way they should be.